In 1790 and 1791, small combined forces of regular American troops and state militias moved against the Western Confederacy and suffered brutal losses. Of the 1,400 men fighting under St. Clair, almost half were killed and hundreds were wounded. It was a devastating defeat. Incidents such as these created a sense of terror among the citizens of the new nation with regard to the natives with whom they shared the land. But despite their fear, waves of settlers continued to roll west. Boone had been one of the great pathfinders, leading settlers to unexplored territories in the West. But it wasn't long before the nation doubled in size thanks to the Louisiana Purchase. And the borders kept moving outward, and waves of settlers pushed into the new Western territories. But the U.S. was also repeatedly forced to deal with the fact that the land it acquired already had residents with an older claim. During the early 1800s, there was a pan-Indian movement led by the Shawnee war leader Tecumseh and his brother, who was known as the Prophet. They traveled through the Southeast, calling for all of the Native American tribes to put aside their quarrels and focus on a single goal: stopping the expansion of the European Americans and their government.
Everywhere our people have passed away, as the snow of the mountains melts in May. We no longer rule the forest. The game has gone like our hunting grounds. Even our lands are nearly all gone. Yes, my brothers, our campfires are few. Those that still burn we must draw together. Behold what the white man has done to our people. Gone are the Pequot, the Narragansett, the Powhatan, the Tuscarora, and the Coree. We can no longer trust the white man. We gave him our tobacco and our maize. What happened? Now there is hardly land for us to grow these holy plants. White men have built their castles where the Indians' hunting grounds once were, and now they are coming into your mountain glens. Soon there will be no place for the Cherokee to hunt the deer and the bear. The tomahawk of the Shawnee is ready. Will the Cherokee raise the tomahawk? Will the Cherokee join their brothers, the Shawnee?
Tecumseh's message was not accepted by all. Cherokee chiefs believed their people could live with the Europeans.
It has been years, many years, since the Cherokee have drawn the tomahawk. Our braves have forgotten how to use the scalping knife. We have learned with sorrow it is better not to war against our white brothers. We know that they have come to stay. They are like leaves in forest. They are so many. We believe we can live in peace with them. No more do they molest our lands. Our crops grow in peace.
But Tecumseh found like-minded warriors among the Upper Creek Indians, particularly a band known as the Red Sticks. Tecumseh led these warriors and others who joined him in the Creek War. Initially, a civil war within the Creek Nation, the Creek War expanded and essentially merged with the broader War of 1812. Tecumseh and the Red Sticks fought as allies of the British, who supplied them. The United States military became embroiled in the Creek War in July 1813. The Red Sticks had gone to Spanish Florida, where they purchased arms and supplies using money given to them by the British. When the local militia heard reports of the Creek moving the acquired arms through present-day Alabama, they struck the pack train, driving off the Red Stick Creek warriors. But when the militia turned to loot the Indian camp, they were struck by a fierce counterattack, and they retreated. After this incident, the local population, including Lower Creek Indians who were loyal to the Americans, were concerned about future attacks by the Red Sticks. For safety, they gathered at Fort Mims, a little over 500 people, about half of them militia. Unfortunately, they had gathered in exactly the wrong spot. On August 29, 1813, an estimated 1,000 Red Stick warriors, led by Chiefs Peter McQueen and William Weatherford, struck Fort Mims. Most of the militia, settlers, and Creeks loyal to the Americans were killed or captured. The Red Sticks collected 250 scalps. One American who was driven to action by the massacre at Fort Mims was Tennessee native Davy Crockett.
The Creek Indians had commenced their open hostilities by a most bloody butchery at Fort Mims. There had been no war among us for so long that but few who were not too old to bear arms knew anything about the business. I, for one, had often thought about war, and I did verily believe in my own mind that I couldn't fight in that way at all. But my after experience convinced me that this was all a notion, for when I heard of the mischief which was done at the fort, I instantly felt like going, and I had none of the dread of dying that I expected to feel.
Whether Davy convinced his wife or not, even he wasn't sure. But he marched off to fight a week later, expecting to be gone only a short time. His company joined up with General Andrew Jackson's force. In November 1813, they came to the rescue of another fort, this one held by Lower Creek Indians, allied with the Americans. Davy Crockett's tale reminds us that the struggles between the Native Americans and European Americans were not simple, clear-cut affairs. It was not just a matter of white versus Indians. There were Indians on both sides of the battle, and the ones fighting the Americans were allied with the British. The war itself went on. Tecumseh was killed in 1813 at the Battle of the Thames, but his warriors continued to fight. Then, on March 27, 1814, over 1,000 Creek warriors led a force 3 times their number, commanded by General Andrew Jackson at the Battle of Horseshoe Bend near Dadeville, Alabama. Jackson's men, which included a contingent of 600 Cherokee and Lower Creek allies, stormed the Creek fortifications. Jackson ordered a bayonet charge, and the forces fought hand to hand. 200 of the Red Stick warriors escaped, joining with the Seminole in Spanish Florida. But the rest, 800 warriors, were killed. Jackson forced the Creek to sign a treaty in August 1814, which ceded 23 million acres of Creek land in Alabama and Georgia to the United States government. This included lands that had belonged to the Lower Creek Indians and the Cherokee Nation, both of which had been allies to the Americans during the war. Chief Junaluska, the Cherokee leader who had argued against Tecumseh's call to war, who had led 500 Native American warriors as allies to the Americans, and who is credited with saving Andrew Jackson's life in the Battle of Horseshoe Bend, later said,
"If I had known that Jackson would drive us from our homes, I would have killed him at Horseshoe."
And it wasn't long before Andrew Jackson was leading troops against American Indian tribes again, this time in the Seminole Wars in Florida. Jackson's victories in this conflict eventually resulted in Spain ceding Florida to the United States. Indian wars continued as America continued to look west. Further wars with the Seminole and the Creek, the Winnebago, and the Blackhawks were to come. Jackson's military successes led to his eventual election to president in 1828. As president, Jackson saw the acquisition of about 100 million acres of Indian land and the forced removal of the Choctaw and Cherokee to the Indian Territory in Oklahoma during the Trail of Tears. Davy Crockett, who had chafed under Jackson's leadership in the Creek War, was a congressman when Jackson was president. Crockett voted against Jackson's Indian Removal Act.
I saw that it was expected of me that I was to bow to the name of Andrew Jackson and follow him in all his motions, even at the expense of my conscience and judgment. Such a thing was new to me, and a total stranger to my principles. His famous, or rather I should say his infamous Indian bill was brought forward, and I opposed it from the purest motives in the world. Several of my colleagues got around me and told me how well they loved me and that I was ruining myself. They said this was a favorite measure of the president, and I ought to go for it. I told them I believed it was a wicked, unjust measure, and that I should go against it, let the cost to myself be what it might, that I was willing to go with General Jackson in everything that I believed was honest and right, but further than this, I wouldn't go for him or any other man in the whole creation.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.